Every handful you eat is a snack if you're over 60. Even those that are marketed as heart healthy may be subtly compromising all of your health-related efforts. You may believe that you are making the right decision, because that's what the ads in magazines told you to do. You've stopped eating red meat, you walk every morning, you drink water, and you've replaced cookies with nuts. However, what if I told you that 9 of the most common nuts in American homes are actually causing your blood pressure to rise gradually, overtaxing your kidneys, interfering with your medication, and yes, even causing heart failure? I don't mean to frighten you. I've witnessed it, which is why I'm saying it. I've been treating elderly patients for more than 30 years as a cardiologist. And during those years, I've sat across from hundreds of patients who are distraught and perplexed, asking the same question. Doctor, how can my heart still be troubled when I've done everything right? Here's the reality though. Nuts are not all made equal. Additionally, your body no longer processes food the same way it did when you were 30. Your metabolism alters, your arteries stiffen, your kidneys slow down, and your medications interact with food in ways that no label ever tells you about. When consumed in the proper quantity and form, certain nuts are acceptable. Others, though, they resemble ticking time bombs that are concealed in your pantry. I'll go over 9 particular nuts that older adults should avoid at all costs in this video, along with what to eat in their place to genuinely protect your heart. So please, stick with me through to the very end. This information may help you avoid going to the hospital. It might help you maintain your independence. It could even save your life. To ensure you don't miss any health advice tailored to senior citizens like you, take a moment to subscribe and hit the notification bell before we get started. Additionally, if this video is helpful to you, please let me know by typing 1 in the comments section. If not, feel free to enter 0. I read all of your comments and want to keep making this content better for you. Let's get started. The first nut we need to discuss may be sitting in your pantry at the moment, appearing entirely innocent. However, consuming it raw on a daily basis may be silently taxing your kidneys and making your heart work harder than it needs to. Let's begin with a nut that has been hailed as the ideal snack for decades. Commercials show it. Dietitians are said to advocate for it. It's included in nursing home meal plans, trail mixes, and lunch boxes. I am referring to uncooked almonds. Don't get me wrong, almonds can be a good source of nutrients. However, after the age of 60, raw almonds are not safe, especially when consumed in large quantities. And the part I'm going to tell you is something that most seniors never hear. Oxalates, which are natural substances that your body can metabolize in small quantities, are abundant in raw almonds. The issue is that your kidneys don't function as well as they once did after the age of 60. They go more slowly. They are less effective at flushing out waste, and those compounds begin to accumulate when you add oxalates to your diet on a daily basis, with each snack and with each handful. Allow me to introduce you to a person I will always remember. He was a 71-year-old retired Indiana postman named Paul Jensen. Last fall, he arrived at my clinic exhausted, with swollen ankles and shortness of breath. "Doc, I haven't had a steak in 5 years," he said. "Every day I go for a walk. Instead of cookies, I eat almonds as a snack. I'm doing everything correctly." His labs, however, provided a different account. His kidney function was indicated by elevated creatinine levels. Despite taking medication, his blood pressure was bouncing all over the place. The offender? 2 large handfuls of raw almonds each day. He believed he was shielding his heart. However, he was covertly overtaxing his kidneys, which led to fluid retention and pressure that was now putting strain on his heart. What about the tragedy? He had never been warned that almonds could be dangerous. He never questioned the claim that they were heart healthy. This is what occurs in medicine. The accumulation of oxalates in the kidneys causes fluid imbalance, inflammation, and an increased risk of kidney stones. Your heart must work harder to pump against stiffer vessels and higher pressure as a result. Particularly risky for elderly people taking diuretics, blood pressure medications, or cholesterol supplements because their kidneys are already working extra hard. Fortunately, we were able to identify Paul's case early. 2 or 3 times a week, we reduced our consumption to a tiny handful of blanched, soaked almonds. No more uncooked. Always drink lots of water. His kidney numbers improved in 6 weeks. His blood pressure leveled off. Doc, I feel like I can breathe again, he said to me. Please listen to this clearly. Almonds are not a free food. They're thick. They are strong. Additionally, they can subtly push your kidneys and heart into danger if you don't take good care of them after the age of 60. Your body doesn't require additional stress. It requires assistance. This entails being aware of what, how much, how frequently, and in what form to eat. And if something as innocuous as a handful of almonds can send your emotions into overdrive, just wait until you hear what's inside the nut that most people eat as a salty treat because they believe it's healthier than chips. Please leave a 1 in the comment section below if you're still watching and finding this useful, so I know you're on the same page. The next nut is silently raising the blood pressure of millions of seniors every day, so let's move on. Let's talk about salted cashews. Those deliciously crunchy and creamy little morsels that seem so innocent. You could eat a few with your afternoon tea or snack on them as you watch the evening news. They don't have the texture of junk food. Aren't they nuts? Naturally, superior to chips. The truth is that salted cashews have the ability to subtly turn your heart into a ticking time bomb. Let me clarify. On their own, cashews are not harmful. They can be included in a healthy diet when consumed raw and unprocessed. They are also high in magnesium and good fats. However, once roasted and salted, they become one of the most misleading sodium bombs in your kitchen, especially the store-bought variety. 200, 300 milligrams of sodium can be found in just 1 ounce, which is hardly a small handful. That's more salt than some bread slices contain. Additionally, you're most likely eating 2 or 3 handfuls without noticing if you're like most people. This is where things become risky. Your body no longer processes sodium in the same manner after the age of 60. Your kidneys become less active. Your arteries become less flexible. Additionally, you become less able to eliminate excess salt. What then occurs? Sodium accumulates. Your blood begins to retain water. The volume of blood rises. Your blood pressure increases. Your heart now needs to work harder just to keep up with the increased strain. Mr. Everett, a 77-year-old retired Indiana police officer, experienced precisely this. He arrived at my clinic feeling exhausted and with a constriction in his chest. Despite taking medication, his blood pressure was 168/98. Doc, I stopped using salt years ago, he informed me. I eat clean, I said, and it was Accuratino frozen meals or fast food. However, when I inquired about snacks, it was there. Cashews with salt every afternoon. Not very much. Just 2 tiny handfuls while watching the news or reading a book. Without the salt shaker or processed foods, he was consuming thousands of milligrams of extra sodium each week through a snack he considered smart. That's how it occurs. There are no sirens to indicate the presence of sodium. Your aging heart begins to suffer as it silently creeps in. An excess of sodium causes your vessel's internal pressure to rise. The heart muscle, particularly the left ventricle, is strained as a result, which causes thickening, irregular heartbeats, and ultimately congestive heart failure. We removed the salted cashews from Everett's diet, swapped them out for a tiny serving of raw, unsalted pistachios, which should only ever be eaten with lunch and never at night. And in only 4 weeks, his blood pressure fell. The tightness in his chest subsided, and he gave me a startled look. I thought I was doing everything right all this time, he said. Who would have guessed that eating cashews would make me more likely to have a heart attack? That's the sad part. You're making an effort. You're changing. However, the salt can be found in unexpected places. If you're over 60, I want you to consider whether this snack is slowly killing your heart with salt that I can't feel but my arteries can. Wait until you hear about the next nut if a few handfuls of salted cashews a day can cause this kind of harm. Although it's highly regarded for its benefits to the brain, you might not be aware that it's also interfering with your heartbeat. Are you still watching? To indicate that you agree with me, type 1 in the comments section. The next nut is even more cunning, so let's continue. Let's talk about a nut that has been dubbed a superfood for the brain, and that appears in every article about aging well, memory, and focus. I'm referring to walnuts, the brain-shaped nut that is highly regarded for its anti-inflammatory and high omega-3 content. Indeed, in moderation, walnuts can promote brain health. You've probably never heard this before, but eating too many walnuts after the age of 60 can subtly throw off your heart's natural rhythm. Your heart is more than just a pump, you see. The system is electrical, and that system weakens with age. To continue beating steadily, it requires a precise balance of hormones, nerve signals, and electrolytes. The issue? Consuming too many walnuts can throw that balance off. Allow me to introduce you to Mr. Calvin D., a Colorado Springs mail carrier who is 74 years old. He had an odd complaint when he arrived at my clinic. "My heart feels like it's jumping around, Doc," he said, as if it were racing, halting, and then fluttering once more. He abstained from alcohol, he abstained from smoking. Every day he went for a walk. He also had no history of heart disease. However, we discovered frequent arrhythmias, unusual beats, such as PVCs and sporadic episodes of atrial fibrillation, when we performed an EKG and a 48-hour Holter monitor. Why was the question? He didn't take any stimulants. Avoid caffeine. No supplements containing fish oil. He then revealed to me, however, that I eat about 20 walnuts a day. I use them in smoothies, salads, and oatmeal. They are meant to keep my brain safe. That was it. Eating 20 walnuts a day was a huge source of omega-3 and other polyunsaturated fats. Furthermore, even though these fats can lower inflammation, Calvin's heart rhythm was out of sync because they were overstimulating his nervous system. The autonomic nervous system, which regulates your heartbeat, is particularly sensitive after the age of 60. An excess of omega-3 fatty acids can overactivate the sympathetic nervous system, resulting in palpitations, skipped beats, and even potentially fatal arrhythmias, particularly when combined with blood pressure or heart medications. Calvin's consumption was drastically reduced. He was only allowed to eat 3 walnut halves per day with lunch. No more adding them to everything. Before bed, no more handfuls. The palpitations subsided 2 weeks later. His EKG was perfectly normal 6 weeks later. When he told me, "Doc, it turns out I don't need a bag of walnuts to stay sharp," he laughed. All I had to do was quit frightening my heart. The lesson is that your body can withstand a lot when you're in your 30s, but it requires accuracy when you're in your 70s. The same foods that once supported you may now cause your most important organ to become overstimulated, overworked, or out of balance. What's the worst? Until your heart skips a beat one day, you might not feel anything at all, and doesn't get better. Therefore, if you've been experiencing fluttering in your chest, particularly at night, if your heart seems to be dancing without any music, don't dismiss it. Your body is whispering that. You simply must pay attention. And if walnuts, which are supposed to be healthy, can cause your heart to race, what about a nut that has the opposite effect? One that silently thins your blood so that a minor bruise or fall could become a serious medical emergency? Please leave a 1 in the comment section below if you're still with me. It means a lot to know that these insights are useful to you. We must now discuss a product that is touted as one of the healthiest breakfast additions, a small pinch added to oatmeal, yogurt, or possibly even a smoothie. Flax seeds are a superfood, as you have undoubtedly heard before. However, no one is telling seniors this. Flax seeds may be subtly lowering your blood pressure to dangerously low levels after the age of 60, possibly endangering your life. Let me clarify. Alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA, is a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that is found in flax seeds. ALA can promote heart health and lessen inflammation in younger bodies. However, it can become a silent threat in older adults, particularly those on blood thinners. As you can see, ALA has anticoagulant properties of its own. It aids in clotting prevention. Additionally, flax seeds can intensify the effects of medications like aspirin, warfarin, Plavix, or clopidogrel, making your body more susceptible to internal bleeding from even minor bumps, bruises, or fuzz. Allow me to introduce you to Miss Darlene M., a 76-year-old upstate New York art teacher who is now retired. She was confused, pale, and a little lightheaded when she arrived at my office. She was dizzy every time she got up, and her energy had diminished. What does she eat? Pristine. Her way of life? Fantastic. I walk for 30 minutes every morning, she proudly told me. I eliminated sugar. I stopped eating red meat. My daughter claims that flaxseed oatmeal is the heart food of the future, so I eat it every day. Her blood work, however, revealed otherwise. Her INR, a test that determines how long it takes for blood to clot, was dangerously high, and her hemoglobin was low. Her medication hadn't changed. She didn't have any alcohol. However, her bleeding was gradual. Inside. And when did we track it down? On top of her daily dose of baby aspirin, it was that harmless tablespoon of flaxseed that was added to her oatmeal each morning. That was her biggest fear. She was feeling good, no discomfort, not a warning. She was unable to explain this nagging weakness. She had inflammation in her digestive tract. She had too little blood. Her capillaries are too brittle. A minor misstep could have resulted in a potentially fatal hemorrhage. We immediately stopped the flax seeds, changed her prescription, waited for her to calm down, and she recovered completely. Thank God. However, she said something that will always stick in my memory before she left my office. She muttered, "I assumed natural meant safe. I was unaware that I was combining food and medication." And so many seniors never hear the truth, my friend. Food and medicine are no longer kept apart after the age of 60. Your treatment plan incorporates everything you eat. Furthermore, when they interfere with the medications in your body, even purported superfoods like flax seeds can become harmful. Therefore, if you're over 60 and you add flax to your morning meal, I want you to pause and consider this. Have I informed my physician? Do I know what drugs I'm taking? Can my body handle this the way it used to? Because food is no longer merely fuel, chemistry is involved. Additionally, chemistry has the power to either silently harm or save you at your age. Now, if a tablespoon of flaxseed can subtly thin your blood, what do you think happens if you eat a natural-looking creamy nut spread that is loaded with sugar, salt, and inflammatory oils? Every day, the next one clogs the arteries of the elderly while remaining unseen. Please leave a comment below with a score of 1 if this is keeping you informed. And I appreciate you sticking with me. This knowledge may actually save your heart. Let's talk about a comfort food that can be found in practically every senior's kitchen. It can be eaten straight from the spoon, spread on toast, or mixed into smoothies. I'm referring to nut butters, such as cashew, almond, and peanut butter. They seem like a healthier option. You sacrificed cookies. You replaced the ice cream. You feel good about it now and reach for a spoonful of peanut butter. It's made of nuts, after all, derived from plants. Naturally, rich in protein. The majority of commercial nut butters are silently clogging your arteries, but most seniors aren't aware of this. Let me explain. Your body's ability to process food changes significantly by the time you're 60 or 70 years old. With each bite, your heart has to work harder, your arteries stiffen, and your metabolism slows. This means that now more than ever, what you put on your toast is important. Even nut butters that are labeled as natural, no stir, or kid-friendly in most grocery stores are loaded with salt, sugar, and worst of all, hydrogenated oils like soybean and palm oil. They prolong the spread's shelf life, smooth it out, and prevent the oil from separating. However, they perform another function inside your body. They cause your blood pressure to rise. Inside your blood vessels, they exacerbate inflammation. They encourage the accumulation of plaque, particularly in arteries that are older. 2 tablespoons of store-bought nut butter can include more than 190 calories, 3 to 4 grams of sugar, more than 150 mg of sodium, and that's before you put jelly or bread on it. Allow me to introduce you to Mr. Harold T., a 79-year-old Illinois piano tuner who is now retired. He complained of low energy and mild chest tightness when he arrived at my clinic feeling more exhausted than normal. His blood pressure had gradually increased. He had elevated inflammatory markers and high LDL cholesterol. He gave me a perplexed look. I haven't eaten a burger in months, doctor. Dessert was omitted. I'm doing everything correctly. However, we discovered it when we looked into his routine. Harold had developed the habit of eating peanut butter straight out of the jar every night, sometimes with toast, sometimes with honey, and sometimes just with a spoon. It was more satisfying than dessert. It was secure. But what brand is his favorite? Contained sugar that was added? Palm oil. Each serving contains more than 200 milligrams of sodium. Harold had unwittingly made his go-to comfort food a daily source of inflammation. We switched. I advised him to take no more than 1 tablespoon daily, and only all-natural nut butter, devoid of added oils, sugar, or salt. Just peanuts, ground. Instead of toast and jam, we served it with apple slices or a whole-grain cracker. His cholesterol dropped 8 weeks later. His blood pressure fell, and his vitality came back. He gave me a look and said, "Doctor, I believed I was eating healthily. It turns out that my comfort food was harming my heart, which I was attempting to shield." For many older adults, that is their reality. Despite your best efforts, the labels are false. The food industry puts a heart on the label and claims it's healthy, but it's actually packed with ingredients that clog your arteries and mess with your metabolism. Therefore, consider this before you reach for that spoonful of nut butter. Is this merely numbing a craving at the expense of genuinely nourishing my heart? And wait until we discuss that healthy-looking snack in your pantry, the one with nuts, dried fruit, and possibly a few pieces of chocolatief. A few spoonfuls can subtly increase your blood pressure and aggravate your arteries. We refer to it as trail mix. However, it's really just dessert in disguise for a lot of seniors. I would love to hear from you if you are still watching. If this video is giving you a greater sense of control over your health, please leave a comment with a score of 1 below. The colorful, crunchy, sweet and salty snack known as trail mix can be found in gift baskets, health food stores, and even senior centers. It seems like a wise decision. It's only nuts, raisins, and possibly some dark chocolate, after all. A pleasant little mixture of ingredients that give you more energy. It is even advertised as a snack for people who are on the go in health magazines. But if you're over 60, listen up. Every time you eat trail mix, it may be subtly increasing your blood pressure, blood sugar, and heart stress. Allow me to introduce you to Mrs. Carol B., an 81-year-old North Carolina nurse who used to work as a nurse. She arrived at my clinic complaining of foot and ankle swelling, mild vertigo, and a general lack of self-confidence. "I eat clean, doc," she said. "Nothing is fried by me. I consume a lot of vegetables. I even stopped eating cookies and now only eat trail mix as a snack." I discovered the truth, however, when we thoroughly examined her diet. 3 times a day, sometimes after dinner and sometimes in between meals, she was consuming trail mix. What exactly was in that mixture then? Raisins coated in sugar, salted and roasted nuts, pieces of chocolate, even healthy-sounding snacks covered in yogurt that were really candy. Each handful contained more than 200 milligrams of sodium, 15 grams of sugar, and more than 250 calories. What was her blood pressure? 162 more than 96. Her A1C? Entering the range of prediabetes. Despite her dislike of sweets, she had been consuming a dessert that was passed off as health food. I described what was going on within her body. Insulin sensitivity decreases after age 60. Your arteries become less flexible. Your kidneys become less active. This implies that nothing simply goes through your system, including spikes in blood sugar, sodium overload, and inflammatory oil production. It remains. It builds up. It causes harm. Her edema? That was her heart's inability to cope with the increased volume brought on by the sugar and sodium. Her lightheadedness? After every snack, that was the sugar crash. We changed. We completely redesigned her snacking schedule. Rather than reaching for a bag of trail mix, she prepared a basic version at home. Almonds, raw and unsalted. Cranberries without sugar. A scattering of pumpkin seeds. Measured out. Quarter cup daily, including lunch. Never after supper. Never from a bag she could reach into without thinking. The difference was striking 2 months later. The swelling went away, her blood pressure decreased, and she told me, "Doctor, I didn't need the sugar. All I needed was the habit. I now snack not just to feel full but also to feel strong. I want you to heed that message. Something is not necessarily safe for your body just because it appears healthy or has the word natural on the label. Particularly after age 60, when your kidneys are exerting more effort than ever before, your heart is more susceptible, and your metabolism has changed. Therefore, take a moment before you grab that bag of trail mix and don't be fooled by the label. Examine the sugar. Add up the sodium. Is this fuel, or is it just flavor masquerading as health? What do you think happens if the nuts you're eating start to interfere with your medication's ability to work at all, given that a handful of trail mix can cause swelling, blood sugar spikes, and high blood pressure? The next one is very cunning, and it may be slowing down your entire digestive system if you've ever eaten it at night. Are you still with me here? Tell me if this is helpful to you or someone you care about by leaving a 1 in the comments. Now let's talk about a nut that many people find oddly fulfilling. Cracking it open is enjoyable. It's vibrant. It is innocuous and feels natural. I am referring to pistachios. Pistachios are a nightly comfort food for many seniors. You reach for a small bowl as you settle in to unwind, perhaps reading a book or watching the news. You tell yourself, it's not candy, it's a nutritious snack. But what if I told you that after the age of 60, those harmless handfuls of pistachios could be subtly interfering with your heart's ability to function, slowing down your digestion, and interfering with your body's natural rhythm? Let me clarify. Insoluble fiber and phytosterols, which are plant substances that, when consumed in moderation, can lower cholesterol, are abundant in pistachios. However, moderation is crucial, because consuming large amounts of pistachios can slow down digestion to the point where it interferes with the absorption of medications, particularly for older adults who are already taking blood pressure or heart medications. Your stomach empties more slowly after 60. The lining of your stomach is less sensitive. Additionally, your body becomes backed up when you include a lot of high-fiber, high-fat nuts like pistachios. Medications that should start working in 30 minutes may take up to 2 hours or never fully take effect. I witnessed this firsthand with Mr. Joseph L., an 82-year-old New Orleans jazz musician who is now retired. For years, he had been expertly controlling his blood pressure. 1 low-dose prescription, a consistent schedule, abstinence from alcohol, and quitting smoking. Suddenly, however, his readings were everywhere, dangerously high at times, too low at times. He was exhausted, disoriented, and lightheaded. "Doc," he declared, "I haven't made any changes." However, he had. As we discussed his daily routine, he revealed that he had just begun eating 2 or 3 handfuls of pistachios in the evening to satisfy his cravings. He believed it was a wise decision, better than cookies or ice cream. He was unaware, however, that the large amount of pistachios he was eating was slowing down his digestive system just enough to postpone the release of his medication. It wasn't always captivating. At other times, it was starting too late and causing blood pressure spikes that left him feeling lightheaded and confused. We immediately reduced our scale. Just a handful, no more than 10 or 12 pistachios, and never at night, only with lunch. In order to ensure that his medication wasn't taken with a high-fat or high-fiber meal, we also separated its timing. In 3 weeks, his blood pressure leveled off, the lightheadedness disappeared, and after giving me a look, he said something I will never forget. I believed I was switching out a negative habit for a positive one. I was unaware that there were risks associated with the good one. That's the reality. It's not just about what you eat, it's also about when you eat it, how much you eat, and what else is in your system at the same time. These days, there is a close connection between your heart's rhythm, your medication schedule, and your digestive clock. The very medications designed to protect you may not even be effective if you get bitten at the wrong time. Therefore, consider this before you grab that bowl of pistachios this evening. Am I protecting my heart? Or am I postponing the very medication that is supposed to keep it safe? Given that pistachios have the ability to block medications, what would happen if you consumed a nut that overloaded your body with potassium, causing your kidneys and heart to struggle to maintain a steady rhythm? Most seniors are unaware of how dangerous the next one can be, but it's big, daring, and extremely risky. If you or someone you care about is finding this message helpful, please let me know by leaving a comment with a 1 below. We now need to discuss a nut that is frequently hailed as a superfood. It is big, rich, and filling, and a small amount can keep you feeling full for hours. I am referring to Brazil nuts. They are well known for containing selenium, a potent antioxidant. They seem like the ideal heart snack because they are also a great source of potassium, healthy fats, and other nutrients. However, Brazil nuts can be surprisingly harmful for elderly people, particularly those taking common heart medications. Here's why. A single Brazil nut can provide you with all the selenium you need for the day, and sometimes even more. Additionally, just 3 or 4 can provide your blood with as much potassium as a medium banana. For a young person with a quick metabolism and robust kidneys, that might be acceptable. However, your kidneys naturally slow down after the age of 60. Additionally, hyperkalemia, or too much potassium in the blood, is a problem that arises when your kidneys are unable to effectively filter excess potassium. What is the function of hyperkalemia? It disrupts the electrical signals sent by your heart, resulting in dangerous arrhythmias, irregular rhythms, and in certain situations, sudden cardiac arrest. Allow me to introduce you to Mrs. Eileen S., an 84-year-old Ohioan grandmother who is proud to be a retired nurse. She came in for a standard examination. She only mentioned that she had been a little more tired than usual, with no serious complaints. As soon as we ran her labs, I noticed something. Her EKG revealed a widening of the QRS complex, indicating that her heart's rhythm was beginning to stretch under pressure, and her potassium level was elevated. She was taken aback. "I don't eat bananas, Doc. I stay away from salt. I no longer even take vitamins. I do treat myself to a few Brazil nuts with my tea every afternoon," she added with a smile. "Only 3 or 4. According to my neighbor, they are excellent for the immune system." That was it. In addition to her blood pressure medications, which include an ACE inhibitor that already affects potassium levels, she was receiving a daily dose of potassium and selenium, which was her little treat. Her kidneys were overloaded. Her heart was exerting more effort to keep its regular rhythm. Furthermore, she was unaware that it was taking place. Fortunately, we discovered it early. We completely cut Brazil nuts out of her diet. We changed her prescription. Her potassium returned to normal in 2 weeks. Her EKG returned to normal. She regained her energy. "It's scary, Doc," she said, glancing at me. "My heart might have been stopped by something so tiny and secure." She's correct, too. For many seniors, that is the tragic reality. You're being unkind. Every day you go for a walk. You're making every effort. Nobody warns you, however, that excessive amounts of even healthy things can be lethal after the age of 60, particularly when your heart becomes more sensitive, your kidneys slow down, and your body is unable to eliminate excess minerals as it once could. Brazil nuts aren't bad. However, they are powerful, and power without consciousness is harmful. Therefore, if you're eating a few Brazil nuts a day, please pause and consider this. Which drugs am I taking? What else do I eat that causes my potassium levels to rise? Am I making my heart work harder just to beat, or am I doing it a favor? What happens if the nut you're eating has virtually no nutrition at all, even though those nuts are overloading your body with minerals that your kidneys can't handle? A smart-seeming nut that is subtly supplying your aging body with inflammatory oils, empty calories, and deceptive assurance. We will discuss that one next, and it's probably in your pantry at the moment. Comment 1 below if this has been helpful to you. It lets me know that the people who need this message the most are getting it. Let's talk about that can of mixed nuts on the coffee table, the nut blend that so many seniors rely on. During the news, you grab a handful. As you read, you nibble on a few. It seems like a wise habit. A bit of everything. A well-rounded decision. What nobody tells you, though, is that those mixed nuts might be slowly undermining your heart and giving your aging body nothing but false hope. The majority of mixed nuts purchased from stores are not heart healthy. Not even close. Any potential advantages of the nuts themselves are negated by their over-roasted, highly salted, and frequently greasy coating. They are frequently filled with peanuts, which aren't even true nuts, which exacerbates the situation. Legumes include peanuts. They don't have the same health benefits as walnuts or almonds, and they have more inflammatory omega-6 and fewer heart-healthy fats. Allow me to introduce you to Mr. Ron T., a 78-year-old Arizonan who is a retired Vietnam veteran. He was upset when he arrived at my clinic. He had been gaining weight. He was experiencing an increase in blood pressure. Additionally, his cholesterol was at its highest level in years. "I've cut the junk," he said. "I don't handle soda. No candy or chips. I now eat nuts as a snack. That should be better, isn't it?" We took out his food journal. "Like clockwork, I eat 2 large handfuls of mixed nuts every night while watching TV. He believed he was being clever. In actuality, though, he was unwittingly overtaxing his heart. Did he keep that can of mixed nuts by his chair? Every portion contained more than 180 calories, 8 grams of fat, most of which was oxidized due to excessive roasting, sodium in the hundreds of milligrams. Additionally, there is no true nutritional balance. Unbeknownst to him, he was consuming 3 times the portion size. He had inflammatory arteries. His heart was pumping more blood. And until he felt it, he didn't. We changed just one thing. We substituted a precisely measured blend for the mystery mix. A handful of unsalted raw almonds, 2 halves of walnuts. No more than half a cup each day. Never eaten alone, never at night, and always with a meal. His blood pressure decreased by 15 points in just 6 weeks. Without trying, he shed 4 pounds. "I thought I was eating smart," he said, glancing at me. "I was eating like I was 40, not 78. I want you to understand that. Your body doesn't require additional nourishment after the age of 60. More accuracy is required. That mixed nut can might seem innocuous. However, it's frequently just a combination of calories, salt, and cheap oil that doesn't help your heart and could even worsen it over time. Thus, before you open that container once more, consider this. Am I truly aware of what's inside? Or am I simply believing a label that reads natural, even though it subtly increases my blood pressure and irritates my arteries? Because the harm has already been done by the time you notice it. The good news is that not all nuts are harmful. Certain nuts can actually protect your heart, stabilize your blood sugar, and help you age with strength and clarity if you choose them wisely, in the right form, in the right portion, and at the right time. What ought you to eat in its place? What is the safe amount? And how can you genuinely use food to support your heart without being duped? We'll dissect that next. I want to thank you if you've read this far. To let me know you're still with me, please leave a comment with a 1 below. You may not realize how important it is that you take charge of your health. Your body has changed in ways no one could have predicted by the time you turn 60. Your metabolism slows down, your kidneys have to work harder, your heart becomes more sensitive to every bite of food, not just to stress and strain. Because of this, selecting the right nut in the right form, in the right quantity, at the right time, is more important than simply picking something healthy when it comes to nuts. Allow me to present to you what no label, no package, and no advertisement can ever provide: a well-defined plan. Allow me to introduce you to Mrs. Joyce K., an 81-year-old retired Michigan elementary school principal. She came to me after having a mini-stroke, or mild transient ischemic attack. She felt afraid. She believed she had done everything correctly. She followed a vegetarian diet. Every morning she went for a walk. Indeed, she had a deep affection for nuts. However, upon closer inspection, we discovered that she was consuming almost half a cup of roasted, salted, and mixed nuts daily. She had elevated cholesterol. She consumed far more sodium than was recommended. At night, her blood pressure rose. With tears in her eyes, she turned to face me and said, I believed I was eating healthily. I simply feel so perplexed. Thus, we retreated a step. We completely redesigned her strategy, treating it as heart medication rather than as a snacking habit. I gave her the following, and I advise all seniors I work with to do the same. Almonds. Peeled, soaked overnight and unsalted. Only 5 to 7 almonds a day. Soaking lowers oxalates and makes them easier on the stomach. Abundant in vitamin E and magnesium. Raw, unsalted walnuts. Only 2 walnut halves every day. That is sufficient omega-3 to help your brain without interfering with your heartbeat. Pistachios. Raw, unsalted or dry roasted. Only 10 to 12 a day, never at night, and always with lunch. Fiber-rich, but timing is key. If you take too much or too late, digestion will be obstructed. Raw, unsalted pumpkin seeds. 1 tablespoon at most per day. Magnesium is good, but if you have kidney problems, proceed with caution. Never eat Brazil nuts unless your doctor has given the all clear. Their potassium and selenium levels are excessive. It can be too much, even a few. No flavored nut blends, trail mix, or nut butters that contain added sugar, salt, or oils. The nut itself should be the only word listed in the ingredient list if you use nut butter. We also developed guidelines for when and how to consume nuts. Just once every day. Never by the handful or by yourself. Always with a well-balanced meal. Always drink water to aid in digestion. It's never late. Joyce's blood pressure stabilized in 2 months. Her cholesterol fell. She informed me, "I no longer fear food. I feel in command, and I desire that for you." Because nobody ever tells you this truth. It's not about giving up food after age 60. It's important to comprehend it. Nuts are more than just a snack. They are effective instruments. When used properly, they can help your heart. They can reverse all of your progress if you use them carelessly. Thus, handle them as you would supplements. Don't use them carelessly. Use them purposefully. Don't overindulge. Labels should be kept clean. Instead of working against your heart, let your food work with it. Additionally, keep in mind that your age-related health, less is more. However, accuracy is crucial. You may be asking yourself, what about the rest of your daily routine if nuts can either protect or damage your heart? Which other healthy behaviors might be secretly harming you? In the upcoming video, we'll discuss 5 everyday lifestyle errors that I frequently observe seniors making and how to avoid them before they worsen. However, I'd like to leave you with this for now. If you've read this far, I want to talk to you as someone who genuinely respects your journey rather than as a medical professional. You've experienced decades of transformation. Families have been raised by you. You have experienced loss, adversity, and moments of extraordinary fortitude. However, I have witnessed numerous strong, capable seniors being brought to their knees by something as trivial as consuming a handful of the incorrect nut in the incorrect form at the wrong time. Why? Not due to their negligence, but because the whole story was never told to them. We've been indoctrinated to assume that natural equates to safe, that healthy is universal, that anything still functions at 70 if it did at 40. However, it doesn't. Your physique has evolved, and those changes are more important than ever in this stage of life. Your heart continues to listen. Your body continues to react. However, it must be made clear. It requires attention. You must take the initiative. Not because they had flawless genes, but rather because they never stopped learning. I have witnessed 95-year-olds outlasting some 65-year-olds. Listen to their body constantly. So, this is what I want you to remember today. Now more than ever, every bite counts. Labels are deceptive. However, your body? It never does. A perfect diet is not necessary. All you need is awareness, purpose, and the courage to ask more insightful questions. I would love to know if this video taught you anything that you intend to use in your daily life. Put 1 in the comments, or better yet, explain what you plan to change. In order to help other seniors who are attempting to safeguard their hearts like you, please like, share, and subscribe if this was helpful to you. Because fear isn't the issue here. It has to do with empowerment. To eat more intelligently. To have a stronger life. To safeguard the heart that has supported you during your lifetime of success, loss, and love. And keep in mind that your next meal is more than just a routine when you're standing in your kitchen tomorrow, browsing the grocery store, or reaching into your pantry. It's a choice to respect your body, to keep your heart safe, and to take charge of the years that lie ahead of you with clarity, assurance, and concern, not fear. I appreciate you watching. There's still time. What about your heart? It continues to listen.